The rain hit the windshield in rapid, rhythmic taps, turning the dark highway into a smear of blurred headlights and endless black. My hands were slick with sweat as I gripped the wheel tighter, the gas station's flickering neon sign barely visible through the downpour. My car had sputtered its last breath a mile back, stranding me in the middle of nowhere with nothing but the whisper of trees and the occasional shriek of wind through the gaps in the asphalt. I pulled my coat tighter around me and stepped out, boots splashing into a puddle as the station's doorbell gave a hollow chime. The clerk barely looked up, the hum of the buzzing light above us, the only sound as I asked for a tow. His face was pale, eyes sunken deep into his skull like he hadn't slept in years. He just nodded, slid the number across the counter, and muttered, "Wait outside." I called. A gravelly voice answered on the second ring. No name, just a raspy, "Be there in 20." Then the line went dead. I waited. The rain didn't let up. Neither did the feeling in my gut that something was wrong. The gas station sat still, empty but for the flickering light above the door, buzzing like a trapped fly. The clerk had vanished into the back, leaving me alone with the silence. Then, at exactly 20 minutes, headlights cut through the darkness. A tow truck rumbled up, its hulking frame slick with rain, headlights glaring like blind eyes. I let out a shaky breath, relief washing over me. The driver didn't say much. He wore a faded baseball cap, his face hidden in shadows. His hand, pale and too long, motioned me inside. The moment I sat down, the door slammed shut with a force that sent a tremor through my ribs. Something wasn't right. The truck smelled like wet metal and old earth, like rusted chains buried deep in damp soil. I turned to speak, but my voice caught in my throat as I finally saw him. Really saw him. His hands weren't hands. The flesh was stretched too thin, the fingers too many. They curled around the wheel like talons, twitching as if struggling to hold shape. The skin on his face, what little I could see beneath the cap, shifted, rippling like something was moving underneath. The truck pulled onto the road, and in the reflection of the rain-streaked window, I saw something else, something that made my stomach lurch and my breath vanish in a strangled gasp. There was no road beneath us. The truck was driving on nothing but darkness, an abyss that stretched in every direction. The gas station, the highway, the world I knew, it was gone. And so was I. I tried to scream, but my throat was locked tight, my breath strangled by the impossible sight outside the window. There was no road, only a yawning void stretching endlessly in every direction. The headlights barely cut through the thick, suffocating dark, but they illuminated just enough for me to see that the world had simply vanished. The truck kept moving. The tires should have been spinning against nothing, but they crunched against something unseen, like bones breaking under the weight of the vehicle. My pulse pounded in my ears as I forced myself to look at the driver again. His hands were worse now. The fingers had elongated, bending at unnatural angles, twitching as if adjusting to some grotesque transformation. His skin, slick and pulsing, shifted like something underneath was trying to escape. I pressed myself against the door, my fingers grasping for the handle. I yanked it, but it didn't budge. "You called," the driver said, his voice a guttural rasp that barely resembled speech. "And now, you're here." "Where? Where the hell are we?" I stammered, my voice barely above a whisper. The driver turned his head slightly, and in the brief flash of light from the dashboard, I saw his face, or rather the absence of one. His skin was stretched too tight, smooth where features should have been. No mouth, no nose, just two deep, hollow slits where his eyes should be, empty sockets that somehow still saw me. I choked back a sob, slamming my fists against the window, against the dashboard, against anything that might wake me up from this nightmare. The truck lurched, sending me forward in my seat. A metallic groan echoed from beneath us, like chains being pulled from the depths of something ancient. The air was thick now, humid and stinking of rust and decay. Then I heard it, a whisper. Not from the driver, from the back of the truck. It started soft, like breath against the nape of my neck. Then it grew, a chorus of voices, overlapping, whispering in a language I didn't understand. Some high-pitched, others guttural, all clawing at my ears like nails on glass. I turned my head slowly, my body trembling. The rear of the truck, what should have been an empty flatbed, was filled with shapes. Dozens of them, twisting, writhing, watching. I barely had time to react before one of them moved. Something lunged at the window, slamming against the glass with a sickening wet thud. A face, or what was left of one. Mouth stretched too wide, eyes black pits, skin peeling away in long, rotted strips. It grinned at me. And then the whispering stopped, because now they were laughing. The laughter started low, wet and gurgling like someone drowning in their own lungs. Then it spread, rising into a chorus of twisted voices, each layered over the next, filling the truck's cabin with a sound so unnatural that my vision blurred with fear. I slammed my hands over my ears, but it didn't help. The laughter wasn't just around me, it was inside me, rattling through my skull like a swarm of insects trapped beneath my skin. I squeezed my eyes shut. This isn't real. This isn't real. Then something touched my shoulder. I jerked forward with a strangled scream, my breath coming in ragged gasps. The driver hadn't moved, his grotesque, featureless face still locked on the road that wasn't there. His long, unnatural fingers twitched against the wheel, but he made no sign that he had noticed me. The touch came again, slow, deliberate. Clammy fingers dragging along the back of my neck. I spun around, my stomach knotting so hard I thought I would vomit. The thing in the back, the thing with the stretched face and hollow eyes, was now inside the truck, sitting right beside me. Its grin widened as it leaned in, its breath reeking of rot and earth, its peeling skin revealing raw, wet flesh beneath. Its fingers twitched in jerky, unnatural movements, like a puppet held by invisible strings. I opened my mouth to scream, but no sound came. "Where should I take you?" The driver's voice rasped suddenly, cutting through the laughter like a rusted blade. I snapped my head toward him. His hands clenched the wheel so tightly that the skin had begun to split, revealing something dark and pulsing underneath. I couldn't breathe, couldn't move. I had to get out. The door. I reached for the handle again, my fingers trembling so violently that I could barely grasp it. The passenger thing watched. I could feel its gaze, feel the weight of its presence pressing into my skull. I yanked. The door didn't budge. The laughter returned, quieter this time, closer. I turned back to the thing beside me. It wasn't grinning anymore. It was staring. And then, in a voice that was not its own, in a voice that sounded exactly like mine, it whispered, "You already know where we're going." The truck lurched again, the world outside twisting into something even darker, and I realized I wasn't in control anymore. The moment those words left its mouth, the thing's mouth, I felt something shift inside me. A deep, gut-wrenching sensation like something had just reached in and taken hold. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. The truck rumbled forward, swallowing the distance between us and the endless nothingness ahead. The whispering had stopped. The laughter had died. But the silence was worse, because now I could hear them breathing. The other shapes still twisted and lurched in the back of the truck, barely visible in the dim, flickering light. They weren't whispering anymore. They weren't laughing. They were waiting. I turned my head slightly, just enough to see the thing beside me. Its lips had stretched wider, the skin around them cracking and splitting like old leather. It didn't blink. It didn't move. But I could feel it, that wrongness pressing against me like an unseen hand pushing me down into the seat. The driver never looked away from the road. His fingers flexed against the wheel, skin splitting further with every movement, the pulsing darkness beneath beginning to seep through. I had to get out. I had to wake up. My fingers twitched. My breath hitched. Then, just as I began to shift, just as I tried to fight, the driver finally spoke again. "You're not the first." My heart slammed against my ribs. Not the first? My own voice sounded distant, detached, like it barely belonged to me. The driver's grip tightened. His head turned slightly, not enough for me to see his face, but enough for me to feel the weight of whatever was hiding beneath his skin. "The others," he murmured, voice like gravel grinding against bone. "They called too, just like you." I sucked in a shaky breath. "Where are they?" This time the thing beside me moved, slowly, deliberately. It lifted one decayed hand and pointed toward the back of the truck, toward the writhing figures. The realization hit like a knife to the gut. The others, the ones in the back, they had all been passengers. I wasn't the first. I wouldn't be the last. A cold, paralyzing horror crawled up my spine as I finally understood. The truck didn't just take people. It kept them. The ones before me, the ones who had called for a tow, they had never escaped. They had become part of it. The driver let out a low, rattling exhale, and then, slowly, he turned his head fully toward me. I saw his face, and I screamed. My scream ripped through the suffocating silence, but it did nothing. The horror in front of me remained. The driver turned fully toward me, and for the first time I saw what had been hiding beneath the cap. His face was not a face at all. It was many. A shifting, writhing mass of flesh and eyes and mouths, all trapped in silent, gaping agony. Faces formed and melted away in seconds. Some I didn't recognize, others that looked like me. I gagged, my entire body locking in sheer, paralyzing terror. The driver's form pulsed, flickering between shapes, voices whispering from the depths of his rotting skin. Some begged, some screamed. Others only laughed, a choked, hollow sound that made my stomach churn. This wasn't a man, it wasn't even a thing. It was a collection, a graveyard of souls, stitched together into something that should not exist. And I was about to be next. I thrashed against the seat, but something was wrong. My hands weren't mine anymore. The skin on my fingers was shifting, the bones beneath stretching unnaturally, like something inside was reshaping me. The veins darkened, twisting like black vines up my arm. I screamed again, tearing at the seatbelt, but the buckle burned hot under my fingers, searing into my skin like branding iron. "You called," the driver said, his voice layered, many voices speaking at once. "Now, you're part of the road." I snapped my head toward the thing beside me, the passenger. It grinned wide, wider than any human mouth should stretch. The skin peeled back, revealing a mess of teeth that didn't belong to a single person. Some were too sharp, some were shattered, others were mine. Its body convulsed, shifting and rippling. And then, it became me. The same clothes, the same eyes, the same terrified expression. I felt my stomach plummet. It wasn't just mimicking me. It was replacing me. I reached for the door handle, yanking so hard my shoulder popped, but the metal melted in my hand, stretching into more of that black, rotting flesh. The truck groaned, something shifting deep within its frame. The road was gone. There was nothing outside anymore. Only this place. Only this hell. The drivers' heads, all of them, turned toward me in unison. The thing in the passenger seat smiled with my own face. Then it leaned in close, and in my exact voice it whispered, "Don't worry, I'll take good care of your life." The truck lurched forward, and I felt myself disappear. I was disappearing, flesh warping, twisting, my very self unraveling into the writhing mass that made up the driver and his cursed truck. The passenger thing, my replacement, grinned wider, watching as I faded, my limbs stretching into something inhuman. The whispers swarmed inside my head, voices merging into a sickening harmony. I was about to be part of it, forever. But then, something changed. The truck jolted violently, swerving as if it had hit something massive. The entire vehicle lurched, the groaning metal screaming in protest. The faces in the driver's skin twisted in panic. The whispers turned to shrieks. The truck began to tremble. I felt something loosen. The seatbelt, it wasn't burning anymore. The grip of the shifting flesh on my arms weakened. A crack split the space outside the truck. a jagged line of blinding white light tearing through the black abyss. And suddenly, the nothingness around us was no longer empty. It was breaking. The driver turned its grotesque, ever-changing face toward me, the many mouths moving in a single desperate voice. "No, this is wrong!" The passenger, my imposter, jerked its head toward the growing light, its grin faltering. It reached for me, fingers lengthening into claws, trying to hold me in. But it was too late. The crack in the abyss exploded open. The force ripped me from the seat, throwing me through the split in reality. The laughter, the whispers, the nightmare, all of it vanished into the collapsing void. And then I was back. Cold rain, wet pavement, gasoline fumes. I gasped, my body solid, real, mine. I was lying in the gas station parking lot. My car was still there, lifeless and broken down. The neon light above flickered as if nothing had ever happened. But the truck was gone. No tire marks, no sign it had ever been there. Only the faintest echo of a whisper in the wind, distant, fading. I scrambled to my feet, breath ragged. The gas station clerk, the same hollow-eyed man who had given me the tow number, stood in the doorway, staring at me like he had seen a ghost. His voice shook. "You weren't supposed to come back." I turned to him, heart still hammering. "Others have called that number, haven't they?" I said, my voice barely above a whisper. The clerk swallowed hard. Slowly, he nodded. "And they never came back," I finished. Another nod. I exhaled, my mind spinning, trying to understand. I should be gone. I should be part of the truck now. But somehow, something went wrong. Or maybe something had gone right. The truck had made a mistake. It had let me go, and I wasn't about to waste that chance. I turned, grabbed my keys, and without another word walked straight to my car. It still wouldn't start, but I didn't care. I would run, walk, crawl if I had to. But I was never calling for a tow truck again. And I sure as hell wasn't waiting around to find out if the truck would come looking for me.